Our business tip brings us to this particular second minute of 8 o'clock. And of course, start out the show. Good morning again, and thank you for sticking around to Smart Mains Business. This is your daily Kickstarter. Let's get our business tip of the day. And the business tip says the secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable tasks and then starting on the first one. So the secret of getting ahead is to get started, and the secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable tasks. Then you start on the first one. So you have to start. The most important part here is for you to start. However hard or however tight things do look like, you have to always start and see how you can manage what is stressing you at the end of the day. So the secret is getting ahead and is as well getting started for you as your business, if at all you want things to move on so well. So get started, go ahead, but especially get started. Now let's get our business quotes this morning too. Now, Donald Trump, former United States president, says as long as you are going to be thinking anyway, think big. As long as you're going to be thinking anyway, please think big. This is according to what Donald Trump says regarding thinking. And of course, you know, if you are to think, try to think out of the box. Don't just think about something small, because obviously we think a lot all the time. We're always thinking, we're always carried away with thoughts. We're always putting ourselves in positions whereby at least in any one way we're going to achieve something, or we are believing and we have this mentality that this is going to happen in this way. So as long as you're thinking, according to Donald Trump, make sure that you're thinking big. May your mentality have a champion mindset. Be in that position where you're thinking of something greater than where you are. Have the position of understanding that, well, I am in this position, but I want to shoot for the skies. I want to shoot for the stars. I want to see myself somewhere bigger. And at least that it should be your main course as you continue to position yourself ably. So think about it. Think about how you can position yourself. But as you're thinking, may your thoughts be about something bigger as well, not only about something small. And that is it for the business tip and our business quotes this particular morning, as we now cross over to business updates, other business update regarding the budget framework paper, and of course looking at the allocation for the education sector. Now the finance minister is responding to why there was a budget cut for the recent financial year of 2021-2022, regardless of the fact that we're in 2022-2023. And of course, he did mention about COVID-19 and also in the long run later on Ebola disrupting Uganda's economy. Now he afterwards also mentioned that the Ukraine-Russia war was another factor that affected that particular financial year, which ended 30th June 2022. Now, the Ukraine war was another factor, and also he did say that all sectors suffered budget cuts. This is according to Honorable Mattia Gasaija, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Let's get it from this update.
Is the decrease in allocation and education skills and sports program from 9 trillion 98 billion point 54 to shillings 8 trillion 916.79 billion. My response is as follows. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I noted that the issues raised are mainly financial in nature. I will therefore provide a brief highlight of the key economic indicators. Honorable Chairperson and colleagues, COVID-19 destabilized the cash flows as they did not perform as projected at the time of budgeting. So, therefore, we cannot meet all the obligations, either through heavy borrowing, both internal and external, which is contrary to our debt policy. Let me repeat this. This COVID has disorganized us, seriously, business. So even my thing now got a problem. You remember when I did it, we were moving at 6% growth. Now we fell down to 3.6, but now we are moving again. I think now we are 4 or something like that. The thing will still go like up there. It will still go up. The curve is going like this.
Thank you.
Therefore,
But that's despite the challenges you are facing, honorable colleagues. I think there is some little hope if the curve has started
going up.
going up.
No, we be hopeful. Absolutely, we are studying the situation unless some catastrophe come, which none of us can predict. Nobody predicted the COVID. Nobody predicted the war between Ukraine and Russia. But if things should be maintained, I was worried about the drought. I was really very worried. How do I feed Ugandans? And God now has answered my prayer, which I was praying almost every night. Now there is rain all over Uganda. The question of food now for this financial and the coming financial is more or less a rested case. And if you tell me that there are some areas which did not produce food because of lack of rain, I would be interested to hear that. Therefore, Therefore, the discretionary resource envelope for financial 23-24 was revised downwards, affecting the allocations to all NDP3 programs. No sector who has not suffered a reduction, including defense. There are certain things defense wanted. We have said no. There were no funds for that. We shall look at it in the coming financial year. The allocation communicated to the MDAs was at program level, with human capital development receiving 8,916.79 billion. A shortfall of shillings 172 billion. However, we note that the HCD program has allocated these funds to statutory and mandatory areas. Therefore, there is a need for various MDAs and under HCD to repurpose. The purpose, these technical people, to reallocate, to reallocate these funds to statutory and mandatory areas. Therefore, there is a need for the various MDAs and HCD to reallocate their allocation in their respective MTFs to ensure that the critical activities, and please I'm emphasizing this word, the critical activities are catered for. The details you can look at this attachment. Honorable Chair and the members, we are mindful of the need to protect investment in human capital development, since it translates into investment in people's well-being. But not only well-being, but they are the engine of the country. Without human beings, you have no country. If any, for example, here, let me go with the first question: failure to release funds to universities. This is how the system works. We budget, you appropriate. When you appropriate, we now go to execute. But in executing is what we call a cash flow. You could have a budget and the Minister of Finance will fail to give you all that money. Why? Because the inflow of revenues, including borrowing, may not permit that. Let me repeat it. You have appropriated, very good, thank you, by helping us. But when it comes now to execution, we are constrained because we operate a cash policy. We are constrained by the cash that is available. The cash that we get is from revenue or borrowing. Now, in most cases, you may find they are not equating at the same time. So therefore, rather when we are releasing the cash to the spending agencies, we look at the priorities they have set. When they have set the priority, that one we can say we give you full. But where they have not given us the priority, then we make a judgment depending on the quantity that quantity. Should I call it quantity of money? the amount of money. That's what creates at times underfunding and releasing. I hope I've been understood on this. We shall give it also in writing. Now, I don't know, I wish I had a blackboard here and I would show you how the treasury operates. You have inflows. Now, URA is one of the inflows. And we normally set a target for them. They could either hit that target or they could miss it. For the last 2 years, they have been hitting the target. But before, they were not hitting the target. That is one source of flow of money that we appropriate and is given to the spending agencies. There is, and that's not a lot of money, because the budget now is 47 trillion. If
the current one,
47. Now, if you compare with the 47 and 25, there is a gap. To fill that gap, we borrow. We have to go to borrow, either internally or externally. Or at times we get some little grants. But basically, you either borrow internally or you borrow externally in order for you to fulfill your budget expenditure. Now, the question of cuts, because that's what seems to have really been the issue in this meeting. Cuts arise as a result of other pressures that come. For example, the question of COVID. Abruptly, I had to look for almost 2 trillion in order to fight that animal that was killing us. Now, Ebola has also come. 2, we get whether refugees or whatnot, they have to be taken, they must be catered for money that you did not foresee, the money that you did not budget. That's where the problem arises. I hope I made my point. Am I clear?
Budget framework paper for this year, 2023-2024, and of course, which was laid on board a 49.9 million budget. So at the end of the day, 49.9 trillion budget. And at the end of the expense here, the Minister of Finance was actually breaking down issues to do with the education sector and its allocations about it, and of course also taking us through the issues to do with how they apparently survived through 2021, 2022, then how 2022, 2023 is also going about. Not only through that, but also highlighting on the various issues to do with the budget cuts for various sectors. But not only that, still also mentioning that COVID-19 and Ebola greatly disrupted the economy because it called in for supplementary budgets in there. And also there was the other issue is regarding the issue to do with the Ukraine war, which was a global shock to the entire world economies world over, and of course disrupting supply chains, just like COVID-19 did with the travel restrictions that were imposed and various lockdowns. So, and in the long run, when you look at Uganda's point of view, there was also something to do with Ebola. But just last week, the World Health Organization did release a report that Uganda is now Ebola free. So it's not like something that we should be excited about, but it should be something that we can look at and know that, well, we've survived this one, and the economy may all be on the rise to at least get back to pre-pandemic levels at the end of the day. Now, fast forward 2023, if we are to look at Uganda's economy at the end of the day, for example, the Uganda's economic outlook for 2022, the economic recovery, according to a report, is expected to continue with a GDP projected at 4.6% and 6.2% in 2022 and 2023. So there's a projection that Uganda's GDP growth may hit a 6.2% this year, driven by services, mainly the services sector, following the reopening of schools back in 2022 and the recovery in the hospitality sector as it's actually moving in. The economy is endowed with significant natural resources. And of course, this takes us back to the issue to do with fertile soils that is boosting the agricultural sector. So greatly boosted by the services sector in Uganda, which is growing steadily. And of course, also the manufacturing sector that President Museveni keeps on highlighting takes us to the reason as to why our economy is likely to recover so well this particular year of 2023 with that GDP, which is definitely projected to grow by 6.2% at the end of the day. Now, also, if you look at the focus and trends to watch in 2023, there is also something to do with the economic recession, which was warned after the International Monetary Fund warned us against that. That the world is actually expected to be into an economic recession later on this very year. So at the end of it all, you realize it's something that we should be putting ourselves in, or we should be positioning ourselves in there as the country. But not only that, from the Ugandan perspective, government has started payment of a 2.5 trillion matured loan. So when you look at this, this is still an update regarding Uganda's economic situations, as the government is said to pay a 2.5 trillion shillings loan to the Bank of Uganda, according to these particular details. Still, also furthermore, looking at how the economy of Uganda is actually projected to grow. Well, and with the financial year absolutely getting to an end come June 30th, 2023, the other sectors to look out for greatly include the small and medium-sized enterprises, but of course the education sector being part of that. Remember, there is a slight change of the curriculum by the Ministry of Education, and also on the other hand, government released the fees cap for which schools are not supposed to exceed and go beyond if schools do reopen. The academic year is likely to kick off for most of the schools in a week's time. That is after next week. Then the others have a 2 weeks time calendar, courtesy of what the government and the ministry is apparently putting in place in regards to how that will be done and how possible that will be executed if we are to continue looking at it in that same way. Well, but besides the same situation, the government also has committed a 6.4 trillion to fund its programs for the quarter 3 of the financial year 2022-2023. So that is a commitment from government of 6.4 trillion Ugandan shillings, which is likely to fund the various programs and as well help in the financial performance and also to deal with domestic revenue mobilization and also looking through the other idea of the parish development model, which is highly projected to at least shape up Uganda's economy at the end of it all. But well, besides that same situation, as we continue to give you more of the updates, we also remind you to invest your money into something that will see it grow. Well, how can you do that? Invest your money in government bonds today, and you can do that with Zabo. The USSD code is *292# for you to quickly kickstart off your investment journey today. And it's definitely that simple if you are to continue growing and getting your business ideas right. How right can you go? By definitely kickstarting your investment journey today with Zabo. You can open up an account with your national identification number, and then after 24 hours, you'll be able to invest. If you have an account yet, if you do have an account already, quickly start off your investment today and invest with only 15,000 Ugandan shillings as the minimum amount. Remember, the markets have been opened at 8:15 a.m. They will only close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. These markets are closed during the weekends and on public holidays, so it gives you the other advantage that within the weekly, daily days of Monday to Friday, you can invest and grow your money. Alltech East Africa, which powers Zabo, says do something new, and Zabo is my money, my future. You're watching Smart Means Business. After the break, I'll be getting back with the latest from the world of sports business. Not only that, Barija Andrew will be right in here to give us the latest from the world of entertainment business as well. So lots of more business updates coming in from the various sectors. Keep it Smart Means Business as we do return immediately after the break. Good morning.
Smart 24